November the 6th, Wednesday, Parliament received letters from the members of Parliament, Dr. Luc Mercelina, Mrs. Grisha Heiliger-Martin, Ms. Melissa Gomes, Mr. Richnel Brugge, tendering their resignations as members of Parliament effective November 26, 2024, in connection with their appointment as ministers in the new Council of Ministers. These letters are registered under ISAs 245, 246, 247, and 248 of this parliamentary year. These letters of resignation, in accordance with Article 49 of the Constitution and Article 120 of the Electoral Ordinance, were submitted to my person. And the resignation of the four persons mentioned, the four MPs mentioned, has made available 4 seats in Parliament for the next 4 elected candidates in line for the respective seats to be sworn in. It is important to note that Article 115 of the Electoral Ordinance states that if, other than in the determination of the results of an election, an existing or upcoming vacant seat must be filled, the chairlady of the voting bureau shall declare within 8 days of being informed of this in a decision stating the reasons that a candidate who appears on the same list as the member whose seat has or will become vacant and who is placed highest on that list in the order referred to in Article 100 is elected. In accordance with Article 120 of the Electoral Ordinance, the President of Parliament notified the Chairlady of the Central Voting Bureau and government of the resignations. On November the 12th, 2024, Parliament received a letter from the Chairlady of the Central Voting Bureau informing Parliament that Mrs. Veronica C. Janssen-Webster, Mr. Dimar C. Labega, Mr. Rayon A. Peterson, and Mr. Christopher L. Waver accepted their election as members of Parliament. And this document is registered under number 268 of this parliamentary year. It is important to note here that in the decree regarding the resignation of MP Heiliger-Martin and the decision that Mr. Dimar Labega is elected to the Parliament of St. Martin, the Voting Bureau considers that Ms. Marinka Gomes would be next in line for election to Parliament, but that by letter of November 11, 2024, Ms. Gomes indicated that she wishes not to accept the election. So on November the 12th of 2024, we also received the credentials from the 4 elected members of Parliament, namely Mrs. Janssen-Webster, Mr. Labega, Mr. Peterson, and Mr. Waver, accompanied by a letter indicating whether or not they have a public function. In addition to that, the elected members of Parliament submitted a letter indicating that they have not acted in contravention with the National Ordinance Registration and Finances of Political Parties. These documents are registered under 264, 265, 266, and 267 of this parliamentary year. Mrs. Veronica Janssen, Mr. Labega, Mr. Waver also submitted an extract from the Census Office saying that they have not been a member of Parliament before. These documents are all prescribed by Articles 115, 105, paragraph 4, 104, 107, paragraphs 1 and 2 of the Election Ordinance, and Article 53 of the National Ordinance Registration and Finances of Political Parties. Other articles of law which are also applicable are Article 54 of the Constitution, Article 108 of the Election Ordinance, and Article 2 of the Rules of Order. And this, I would like to say what those are. Each newly elected member of Parliament provide proof of his election by submitting to Parliament the documents prescribed by law constituting his credential. Article 3 of our Rules of Order state, Parliament appoints a committee of 3 members which has the task to verify the credentials of the members of Parliament. The first appointed committee member shall be the President. The committee reports in writing or verbally after having verified the credentials, the other documents as required, and those received pertaining to the election. The credentials and the documents related to them will be made available for perusal by the members of Parliament at the Secretariat of the Clerk. Appoint MP Franklin Myers, MP Lacruz, and MP Roseberg. I will now ask the clerk to hand over the credentials and pertaining documents to the committee so these can be verified by the committee. I now give the floor to the chairman of the committee, MP Franklin Myers. MP Chairman, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I am happy to announce that all of the credentials for the candidates are in place, namely Mr. Christopher Weaver, Mr. Dimar Labega, Mr. Rayon Peterson, and Mrs. Veronica Janssen-Webster.
Thank you so much, Chairperson of the committee, approving or scrutinizing the credentials of the incoming members of Parliament. To the other committee members, I thank you all for a job well done. Thank you for taking up that task. Has approved these credentials of the following persons: Mrs. Veronica C. Janssen-Webster, Mr. Dimar C. Labega, Mr. Rayon A. Peterson, and Mr. Christopher L. Weaver. Does Parliament agree with the proposal of the approval of the credentials? Not hearing anything to the contrary, Parliament has agreed.
About, see? Watch cool sack. Watch cool sack. Watch. The grills here, so in front of my place, block. Up to now, up to now, up to now, Vrummy, what you call it, them, emergency team, haven't hit the road as yet. So these people have been falling short. It's nothing they're doing, nothing. Okay? This is what we say, not a damn thing they're doing. Watch here, so. Watch. I've been complaining about this for a long time. Okay? They ain't got a minister of Rami have done nothing over the last 30 years, with the exception to put culverts here in Coolsack. Okay? That the culverts them block. No garbage ain't going to nothing, no water ain't going to nothing. And watch over here. Watch there. Okay? Watch there. When the grills them get blocked, nothing come up in it. Nothing could go through. Nothing. See? Watch Coolsack. Water come in my house last night. Watch. This is not good, man. And watch how people just drive. Because some people so damn brutish. They see a lot of water on the road now, but they still want to rush. That ain't making no sense. Watch here. Water come in my house last night, this 4 morning, watch. For years, I talking about that. For years. They haven't done absolutely nothing in Coolsack. I ain't gonna stop saying it. What this stupid ass wall here? That wall there's what contribute and the water not running off here in St. Martin for years. Here in Coolsack. Okay? Watch here.
Asset V insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? Asset V is cardless. Request your My Asset V account today and enter the virtual office of Asset V. Go to assetv.sx and sign up now.
Asset V, yeah. Your social health insurances.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, be sure to put together a go bag. A disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
To celebrate with Sabre Day on December the 6th. And this is the 49th celebration of this day on our sister island, Sabre. The proposal is to approve this visit and attendance to Sabre Day for a maximum of 4 members of Parliament as agreed to. This is done by selecting a member of Parliament from each time from a different faction to attend together on behalf of the Parliament of St. Martin. As indicated previously, if Parliament is invited as a whole to a meeting or a special meeting or gathering, only 4 members, not including the President, each from a different faction, will be able to travel and attend the event. And this is done on a rotational basis, based on the name of the faction in alphabetical order. The rotational basis is also applicable for national holidays and other national festivity days. The factions, of course, can decide internally which member of the faction will attend as part of the delegation of Parliament. And this is a further clarification to the stipulation in the travel guidelines of Parliament regarding when the entire Parliament is invited to attend an event abroad. So as per that rotational basis, 4 factions were selected to attend Statia Day, and the next 4 factions will then be up to attend Sabre Day. So the proposal is for the following delegation to attend this work visit, and it would have been, according to our scheduling, MP from the United People's Party, and that person is not available. Then we would have the MP from the URSM. We would have the MP from the Democratic Party. We would have the MP from the Nation Opportunity Wealth, not available. Then we would have the an MP from the National Alliance, an MP from the Sualiga Action Movement. The President of Parliament is not available, and the Secretary General of Parliament is not available for this trip. So the proposal is furthermore to approve the travel arrangements for this delegation to travel on December the 6th. In fact, I believe they have to travel, no, this is on December the 6th for the day. Does any member wish to speak on this topic, have anything to say regarding the topic? It's all in accordance with our travel guidelines as well as the basis on which the delegations are selected from Parliament for these type of events. So with no further comments from members of the Parliament, this proposal is approved.
My name is Fabian Badiger, and I'm a writer. We're here this evening to have some fun, because writing is fun, actually. And we're going to go back to the basics, as they say, and start with a letter. You know, letters were a form of communication, an art form actually, in the past that made it possible for us to be able to communicate with people across the world. As a matter of fact, I remember growing up, I had pen pals. I don't know if they still do that today. I guess with the technology, you probably have Facebook friends and all that kind of stuff. But in those days, we had pen pals from across the globe that you wrote letters to, you exchanged letters, spoke about your culture, your country, your region, sometimes your family. And occasionally, they had developed some kind of, more closer relationship between the pen pals, to the point that some would invite their pen pals to visit them in their countries. I wasn't that lucky, but, so letter writing has been an age-old communication tool, and you can describe a letter as a communication between one person, that is the writer, and another or group of persons through the mediation of an agency like the post office and nowadays the internet and all kind of stuff, right? Or even through individual like a messenger, a stagecoach carrier, and all that kind of stuff. Letters have a distinct format, right? Almost like everything we do is a form to it. And of course, you start with the address of the writer, then the addressee. And of course, almost every letter, like most stories, once upon a time, there's a story coming, right? So when you say, dear so and so, yeah, that's how you start a letter, And if you go back even in the Bible, you see so many letters written. One of the most famous letter writers in the Bible would have been Apostle Paul, right? And he wrote, the letters are called epistles, right? So wrote about 13 of them, 6 which are kind of dubious, doubtful. But let me go back to, my own experience. Let's share that experience with you in terms of letter writing. I told you about pen pals. My grandmother, used to ask me to write letters for her to her son, my uncle, who was living somewhere else. And of course, my grandmother couldn't speak English, and she would, dictate the letter to me in our language, Yoruba, and I would have to translate that into English. Or sometimes she asked me to write in Yoruba, which I wasn't very fluent doing. I mean, writing it, I could understand the language, of course, but I couldn't write it very fluently. But in most cases, I had to write those letters in English for her. And the tricky part of it was that at the end, my grandmother was kind of a little feisty, lady. And she was, whenever she had to write her son, it was because she was angry with him about something. So she would use some expletives and that I, as a young kid then, couldn't use in talking to my uncle, But anyway, so sometimes the letter would go like this: my dear son, when was the last time you remembered talking or visiting your mother? Or you forgot that you have a mother, And then she would go into all the things that she felt he did wrong. But in many of those cases, what happened was that in the end, she would, ask me to read back the letter that she had just dictated to me. Now, God help me if I left out some parts that she thought were very important, and which I often did. And then she would, of course, correct me, or if I kind of smoothing off some of her language, she would say, no, I want it exactly as I told you, So she was really very particular about that. And for somebody who couldn't read or write, her memory was incredible. And she would ask me to go mail the letter, So, I had no choice. And in most of those cases, my parents didn't even know, because she could have asked, her daughter, my mom, to write the letter for her. But I guess she knew, hey, those were partners. That's her brother. She would be writing to, and she might not want to do that. In any case, so that was one of the ways in which I grew up, writing letters, also writing letters for my grandmother, And we will come back to that whole issue of legacy letters, because that is what this whole workshop is about. And I want you to be able to put your own pen to paper and start, trying out some of the ideas that you might have that you want to pass on to the future generations. But the story about my grandmother's letters was that it also left a mark on me, her relationship with my uncle, her son, the kind of language she used, some of the issues that she raised. Quite often there were, of course, the mother-son kind of relationship, and I got to learn a lot about, how that was between her and her son, my uncle. And yes, I think it was a form of a legacy also, a legacy for me in terms of learning, some very important moral and ethical matters from her.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurance.
St. Martin, listen up. The Civil Registry Department has taken 7 services online. That's right, you can now request a family tree, local address change, migration deregistration, a registration form, requests for existing certificates, transfer your driver's license, and a driver's license declaration, all online. Go to services.stmartingov.org/civil registry and easily complete a request form for the service that you need. You can also pay for the services online using a major credit card or debit card and receive certain final products digitally as well. No traffic jams, no waiting in lines. And if you're on island or off, you now have full digital access to 7 civil registry services at services.stmartingov.org/civil registry. That's services.stmartingov.org/civil registry. For more information, call 542-0652. Now go online and request your service form today.
The St. Catherine North Police are intensifying measures to get more illegal guns off the streets. So far, several guns have been seized during targeted police operations in less than a week. As Krista Campbell now reports, it follows a major decline in murders and other violent crimes in the division.
The St. Catherine North Police are reporting a 42% decline in murders in the division since the start of the year and a notable increase in the seizure of guns and ammunition. 51 illegal guns compared to 46 for the same period last year and 525 ammunition compared to 453 last year. They say they have intensified their operations to put a dent in illegal activities in the area and will continue to do so. And with 3 guns confiscated over the last 3 days, they believe they're making headway.
The first one was on Saturday, November 9th. Shortly after midnight along Job's Lane, a man attacked police officers who were in plain clothes with a firearm. The police officers immediately took evasive action and the man was shot and injured. A 9mm pistol loaded with 10 rounds was seized from this man. He was transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead.
Superintendent Hopton Nicholson explained that the police had seen the suspect in question sometime after 9 o'clock Friday morning in Old Harbor.
It appeared as if he was a laborer doing construction in one of the housing schemes. He was also observed at a wake in Point Hill sometime after 9 p.m. on Saturday, where he was seen among other members at a wake that was unpermitted.
And so another appeal to residents.
Contact the police before hiring persons who are unknown to you to do work of any sort at your home or your place of business. We're also asking that persons you check with the police before renting your premises for business or even temporary living accommodation.
He said the second firearm was recovered during an operation to catch a wanted man and his cronies in the Riversdale area.
On the approach of the police, one man engaged the police in a fierce gun battle. He was shot and injured. He was later transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. A firearm loaded with an extended magazine, and this magazine has the capacity to hold 30 rounds. So this magazine was recovered in the firearm with 14 rounds. Another magazine loaded with 10 rounds was also recovered.
The third illegal gun was recovered about 2 o'clock Monday morning while the police were shutting down an unpermitted event in San Diego Gardens, Spanish Town.
A man who aroused the suspicion of the police was searched, and a 9mm pistol loaded with 13 rounds was seized from him. He was subsequently arrested.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.